everybody. You're listening to the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Billy Z.
I'm Justin Allen.
I'm Brian Pittard.
And I'm Steve Morey.
And we have a very special guest with us. This week, the movie Bears are on hiatus for one of the most wonderful reasons, so we snagged him. Please welcome back to the show after too long an absence, Will Lindis.
Woo! Hey, everyone. So glad to be back.
Well, we're really glad to have you, and we have you on the occasion of the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Get this, the 15th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. It's the sequel to the 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy, and all of us have seen it, and all of us are going to talk about it. So, Will, we are nothing if not gracious to our guests. Tell us what you thought about GOTGV2.
Oh, my God. Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, 15, it feels like there's been more than that, right? Like, I would have, if someone had asked me, like, how many Marvel movies have been made right now, like 20, 25, right? So, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I quite enjoyed this one. I guess I'm going to lead with that. This is like you mentioned, the sequel to the 2014 film, which sort of took everyone by storm. I mean, I think we expected in the first wave of films, like Iron Man's going to do well. He's a tentpole character. Captain America, Thor, those are going to do well just because of how important those characters are to pop culture. But Guardians of the Galaxy is not these characters were not super well known to people outside of the realm of comic book fandom. And they've really coasted on a few years of success post that movie. The sequel here, Volume 2, I think for me, it does a lot of things very, very, very right. First of all, Marvel has a problem with its villains. Like, as much as I'm definitely a Marvel movie fanboy, and I do appreciate them so much, I do admit that the weak spot is in the department of the villains. A lot of them are a little cardboard cutout compared to the more three-dimensional heroes that they're pitted against. And I feel like the villain that we got in this one, which we'll get to, had a lot more going on and a lot more importance in terms of kind of how this character interacted with the main protagonist. So I like the villain in this, and I like the way he fit into the story. I also like the return of these characters who I think are very well realized on screen. I think you've got some lightning in a bottle with Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, and Bradley Cooper in the main roles, with Michael Rooker and Karen Gillan as well. For me, the standout is Dave Bautista. This guy is an absolute comedy assassin. Like, every line they gave him, I felt like he took it and ran with it in a way that always gave me some absolute belly laughs. This was an absolutely well-shot film, too. I felt like, these films have a lot of CGI and a lot of stuff like that in them, and that's cool, like that's part of like the big film experience these days. But what you don't always expect with films that rely so much on computer-generated images is solid shot composition. And I liked so much that a lot of the sets, like one of the things the cinematographer on this, a guy named Henry Braham said, was that they set up a lot of the shots to where the actors could sort of improvise and walk around the sets, and the camera would follow them accordingly. So they actually did some handheld work on this, as opposed to making people stand exactly in specific marks, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to CGI around them. It made everything feel very organic, very natural. If I had any weakness in this film, I think that some of the humor was a little forced. There's some jokes that I felt were probably a little kitschy or a little cartoony, even for the tone the film was setting, but I was able to overlook that. I really like this film quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Justin has been relatively absent from recent episodes. We're changing that with this one, so we'll throw it over to you. Justin, what did you think of this film?
I really enjoyed the heck out of it, pretty much as much as I did the first one. I didn't have super... I shouldn't say I didn't have high expectations, because I did. I didn't think that it would be bad. I didn't think it would be worse. I thought it would be pretty much as enjoyable as it was. And I really Batista was fantastic. I mean, I really, that surprised me. But Karen Gillan's Nebula, she really, as a character and as a role, that was fantastic. I mean, she made the character more sympathetic, yet still funny, yet still kind of nasty bitchy. And I really, really enjoyed her parts in that. I mean, aside, you have all the other stuff with the little quips between Rocket and Quill that were the same as the other that were funny and enjoyable. But Nebula was just a standout for me.
Go over to Brian. Brian, what did you think of this?
So I have to be honest. It's hard for me to try to disambiguate all the different things coming into this. The first movie, Guardians, I did not love. I thought it was fine, and I really enjoyed like certain performances, but overall, wasn't my favorite. Like, it's just not. And I love Abnett and Lanning's Guardians, and I grew up on Jim Valentino's Guardians from the 90s. So I, again, had a lot of baggage coming to this, but I've been trying to pull that out and try to separate all that and get to what I feel like the sequel's problem was. And I think the problem was it didn't really push through narratively. Like, it felt very dead in the middle, and it felt very emotionally, I don't know, disparate. Like, they kept talking about how they were all family, they're all family. But at the end of the day, I didn't see that when they're all off onesie-twosie doing their thing. Occasionally I would see them bicker, which, okay, yeah, families bicker, but if you're trying to sell me that this is a family of superheroes that, has grown into this kind of thing out of what we saw in the first movie, I honestly don't really buy it. I'm charmed by certain performances. I mean, Baptista was certainly amazing. I think Michael Rooker deserves all the praise and glory here, because if there's an arc that I buy and kind of dig, it's his as Yondu. And admittedly, it's not Yondu from the comics. Like, that they shoehorned in that Guardians 3000. Sorry, I had to say that, but the original Guardians reference, like, and it took me sitting there, like, freeze framing in my memory and thinking, oh yeah, that's supposed to be this, and oh wait, that's like, who is that for? Fans of the originals? No, because they're like, that's not Guardians, that's not the original, no. And then the new fans, they don't know who the hell they are. Sylvester Stallone is Starhawk? I don't even know what that means. Like, are you serious? No, not even close. That little costume gimmick he had with the little epaulets or whatever the hell fuck those things were. That the Guardians are the captains of this group of mercenaries. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. I still don't quite understand what they are. The movie has never taken the time to really kind of explain that. And if it did, it was so unmemorable. I don't remember it in the first or second movie. Chris Pratt's glorious. I mean, of course, we all worship him. He's great. No problem with him as Star-Lord. Ego, yeah, okay, they showed me the planet smiling. I'm fine with that. Mantis is fabulous. I love Mantis from the DNA stuff. Bringing her in, making her part of the team, I'm all about that. Please, let's do more of that. Can we get Cosmo in next movie? I don't know. The best parts to me were the little gold people video game references. Like, I love all that. I dug the hell out of anything related to that. Baby Groot, I mean, I get it. You're going to double down on what made that first movie kind of hilarious at the end. Fine. The opening number, fabulous. I'd love more of that. But the rest of the movie, seriously, Baby Groot's lost on me. Like, it's a cute gimmick. Every now and again it comes up. It's fine. But at the end of the movie, the only thing that made that really kind of funny is adolescent Groot, because, like, obviously, like, that's just a good beat. I don't know, what else did I miss? I don't care about Nebula, and I fucking love I'm gonna call her Amy Pond. My apologies.
Yeah, Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, thank you. I love her. I really do. All of the joy of Amy is lost in that character, in a portrayal. But she's a great actress and she nailed it. That's fine. But I don't care about their sisterhood. I really don't. And the movie didn't help me care about it any more than it could have, I guess. I don't know. Rocket's great, but again, didn't quite get what they were doing with him and Peter, other than trying to be like all this, like, I don't know, sibling rivalry thing. It just, I don't know. I wanted to love this movie. I thought it was enjoyable. Like, I didn't leave the movie grumpy or anything, but I just think it's a lot of missed opportunities for something that could have been even better than the first one. James Gunn as a director has very mixed track record in his past, so I don't know. I think he might have just gotten really lucky with that first movie, and this is just, it's not that. But that's how I saw it.
Steve.
Well, gee, after that bah humbug. Well, actually, so it was interesting that you mentioned family. Because, well, first off, I do want to say I loved this movie. I had a big, stupid smile on my face the entire time. Laughed like a goon. It was, definitely a great atmosphere in the movie theater when I saw it. I saw the IMAX 3D version. So of course a lot of the 3D gags, which I usually roll my eyes out at when I see it in other films, it actually fit here. I just thought that they were, it's a clever movie, but it's definitely a one and done. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy has that. They kind of have that ability to operate outside of the greater MCU. Obviously, everything that they're doing is going to have some kind of impact further down the line because, of course, it all has to tie together with, the big greater Avengers arc on Earth. But, for this, it felt like I was reading a standalone arc from the Abnett comics. It was just very, very interesting, very self-contained. Going back to the family thing, though. It seems like a lot of big action blockbuster movies lately, that's been coming up a lot. And I know that it's nothing new. Obviously, we had the Goonies back in the 80s and, all those, teen movies, Monster Squad and all that stuff all kind of had that same ragtag gang of kids who are all from different walks of life who somehow pulled together and really, do everything for each other. But all of those, like, we're a family, just kind of felt like Fast and the Furious to me all of a sudden. And I don't want it to be Fast and Furious in space. I mean, that's going to be Fast and Furious 9. Everybody knows that. It's going to be in space. I don't want to see Guardians of the Galaxy for that kind of feel. And every time that they kind of sort of bit onto that kind of that trope, I was just sort of like, just be a ragtag group of crazy people. Don't be like, but we're a family, and this is what family means. And that was such a big central topic. The whole daddy issues. Everybody's got freaking daddy issues in this movie. But again, I'm just nitpicking here because I thought that the humor was fantastic. Baby Groot, sorry, Brian, I loved. And of course, I did love Adolescent Groot just because he's ridiculous. But I thought this was fantastic. The one thing I did want to say, did anybody else have a completely different idea in their head about what this film would be about before walking into it? Because I can honestly say I had no idea what the plot was going in. From the trailers that I've seen, and albeit I did not watch every single trailer that was put out, and I think there were like 15 of them, but I honestly had no idea what this film was going to be about. I knew that Ego was going to show up and he was going to be Star-Lord's dad, and somehow he was going to factor into it. But I honestly thought that the main plot, that the main villain in this film was somehow going to be Aisha and the Sovereign. And it would have made sense. The Sovereign's the big baddie. They're coming over. They're, out to assimilate, parts of the galaxy. Who knows? But then it took a completely different turn once Ego hopped on the scene, and the Sovereign was almost like they were almost completely forgotten until the big climax at the end. And even then, it was almost like a joke, which was great. I like how they played that. But it was interesting that I went into this film with absolutely no clue what direction they were going to take it in.
I think that was by design. I think they actually tried with the trailer to misdirect what our expectations were, because that or the movie just changed that radically during production. And I don't think that's what happened. But yeah, no, I definitely thought Aisha was going to be the big bad and was surprised.
Yeah. She was less of a big bad and more of like a big it was a MacGuffin punchline. She was definitely a punchline. It was hilarious, actually. But
the only thing that I would say along those lines is I thought with Ego you were going to see more elements of Star-Lord's father in the comic, Emperor Jason. I thought that was going to kind of be like a melding of those two concepts. So
well, he did have a beard.
He was Starman. If they had Jeff Bridges play it, it would have made so much more sense.
Jeff Bridges, he's already done that.
He's already done a Marvel character.
CGI.
Bullshit.
He's also done that weird CGI.
I think you only get one shot at a Marvel character. So
I don't know that that's true anymore, but we'll go with that.
Okay. All right. I'm in the camp of liked it but didn't love it. I thought it was overloaded, and I thought there was some humor that I thought was so deliberate. I think the appeal of the first film was the humor was effortless. At least it felt effortless. This, it seemed like they were trying to hit certain marks by making this beat or that beat. I will agree with what everybody said. Dave Bautista was wonderful, and my God, the lines he had to work with. You know?
Oh, did I forget to mention how much I love Dave Bautista? Well, I'm on that bandwagon too. I don't know whether to just like I totally just want to give him a big old hug and just throw back my head and laugh like a crazy commercial person.
Right. But I did think it was overloaded. I think a lesser director, the film would have gotten away from them. I really did appreciate how well directed the film was by pulling all these elements together. I thought the emotional aspects of the film, like I said, there's too much of it. You know, we had Gamora and Nebula. We had not so much Drax and what's going on with Mantis. I mean, that was our lesson. It just seemed the film would have been better served if they dealt with one of those circumstances, which naturally, given the dynamics of the film, should have been Star-Lord and Ego. Brian, I'm going to disagree with you on the family aspect. I agree that you didn't see much of it, but when you did see it, it was a wonderful, wonderful bit. At the end of the adventure, you have Rocket, Drax, Gamora, and Star-Lord passing around Baby Groot. And you got the sense that in the 3 years since we've seen them, that they have done this hundreds of times. And I thought that was such a sweet note, especially coming towards the end where, you know, all this overloaded action had taken place. I wish we had seen more of that, those simple moments without trying to be funny or clever.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't buy it because they didn't establish it. From what I can tell, this movie takes place like weeks or months after the last one. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's been this indeterminate. I mean, it's indeterminate because they don't say, but I don't feel like they earned the family. I love that moment. I did agree. Yeah. It was touching, but you know.
They do say when it takes place.
Oh, do they?
It takes place in 2014.
Oh, well, that's even weirder.
Yeah. That's cool.
Well, because the opener took place in 1980, and then it clearly stated afterwards 34 years later, which is very odd.
Okay. Well,
so I guess that means that Star-Lord's supposed to be 33. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for all the nitpicking about Stallone and the cameos, I really liked seeing the original Guardians in some capacity. I didn't buy like the whole like Ravagers, like that whole aspect of like that's who they are, but I still got giddy. Did you guys catch who played Martin X?
I saw the credits. Yeah.
What? Rosenbaum? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. From Smallville, Lex Luthor from Smallville. Yep. Yeah.
He's a friend of Gunn's, though. I mean, like Gunn's got like the actors who always kind of does this stuff, and so I wasn't shocked when I realized that was him, but it was still like it was so fast you didn't get that. I don't know.
Well, you also had speaking of friends of Gunn, the gentleman who plays Peter's grandfather made a 3-second appearance during the film when they flashed back to Missouri. But he also was in the end credits as well as one of the dancing figures, along with Jeff Goldblum.
Okay.
It's just like Miley Cyrus.
Yay!
Yes, Miley.
Yay!
Yeah.
She was my favorite part. No,
what the fuck? Why? Like, is she a friend of Gunn's? Because that was random.
There was a lot of random people in this, but here's the one that I had to look it up afterwards, and was shocked because the makeup was so well done. But Taserface. Mm-hmm. Is good old Chris Sullivan from Stranger Things, the really hot bear who ran the diner,
really?
as well as the recent love interest from This Is Us that apparently had everybody crying.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Chris Sullivan.
Wow.
Okay.
That's good makeup. That is good makeup.
Another thing I liked was actually having a Stan Lee cameo that I thought was effective. No, seriously, the guy's 94 years old. We don't know how long we have him. And how beautiful would that have been that your last image of him on film is as a storyteller?
Sure.
Did you catch that his last words were, "Where are you going? I've got so many more stories to tell." And I was like, please do not let him drop dead after this movie. Because that would just be so depressing.
From what I understand, they filmed cameos for the next 4 films.
Yeah. They hedged their bets.
Yeah. So I think we're covered, but to me that was a lot more touching in a meta sense than some of the stuff that they were going after. Also with Mantis, I have this like very peculiar history with Mantis because when I first got into comics was when the Steve Englehart Avengers run was happening. And this wasn't necessarily my conception of Mantis, but there's an appearance of Mantis in Justice League in the late 70s where they redefined the character as a character named Willow, and that is exactly what I thought Willow would be like. So it was like this weird synergy with my conception of Mantis, not Mantis. But there were a lot of things I liked. We talked about this with Legion. When we talked about Legion, we had talked about really inventive use of images against familiar music. I did think that with the Silver Song and then also with the Jay and the Americans Come a Little Bit Closer, I thought those were really well done. That's an art in and of itself, and I think Gunn's pretty good with that. With the opening credits, it was like way too long. That was the element for me of like there was some stuff that was just too much of it. It's a fun ride, but I felt there was some kind of magic with the first film because everything about it was unexpected. And I think maybe that element of some familiarity worked to the second film's detriment.
I don't know. I think the familiarity, especially for how unique this part of the Marvel franchise is, I think it helped it because, when it first came out, when the first film dropped, nobody would have expected it to be a blockbuster. In fact, the expectation originally was that this was going to be the first, real flop since the MCU got started. And, when it became a huge hit, and not just a hit with the people who knew who these characters were, which, to be honest, really isn't that many people who are really reading this during the Abnett run, but the fact that it became so popular and that you had kids running around dressed as Rocket, for Halloween and Drax and Groot t-shirts everywhere. And, it's, I think that familiarity really helped it and is definitely helping it do well in the box office category.
Well, I'm just saying that just from an excitement perspective, you just didn't get lightning in a bottle this time. Because the first film was so novel and I think in so many ways an unexpected joy.
I think that's absolutely true in a lot of ways because that first film came out of left field. Like you said it absolutely right. Like I remember going into that one thinking like, oh man, is this going to be the Marvel killer? Is this the one that's going to derail the train? Is this the one where they've become more ambitious than they're able to pull off? And when you sat down and just everything came across so organically and naturally and just like this film needed to be made. And no one thought going into that movie that this is a film that needed to be made. I think it was probably impossible for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to capture that same feeling because I think that once that bell has been rung, you can't unring it. At this point, we already know about like the cinematic magic that is these characters and this director and this world. So I think probably going into it, it was impossible for it to live up to it. And so it's just a matter of how good could it be within that lane.
Yeah.
Well, I know the one thing that actually kind of really surprised me about this whole thing is, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. But when at the end, the audience, I have not been in a theater that they clapped for, 4 or 5 minutes like they did with this. I mean, that just really shocked me. And I mean, it's just that I've not seen that in a very long time. So, I mean, the people were still enjoying it. I was thinking I was being a little critical halfway through these people clapping. I was like, oh, maybe I missed something.
I'm just trying to think of films where you have that groundbreaking is not the right word at all, but a sense of something so fresh. And when you hit the second experience, I mean, I think of a film like Empire Strikes Back. They achieve something by having everything go to hell.
Right.
And with this dynamic that you have for this, there's no way that could work. Not at this point in the game.
Speaking of Empire, did you notice any of the similarities, though? Like, even like this shot for shot, like at the end where they're standing there kind of looking out in space. And I mean, I honestly, as I was seeing that, I'm thinking, boy, this is really, really similar on a lot of things.
Dealt with the daddy. It was a daddy issue movie, yes, just like Empire.
Well, and it's all about family, you know, like, and you mentioned the family reference. Well, that's the entire Star Wars legacy outside of, you know, of course, outside of like Rogue One, I guess. But that entire film is really based around like one kind of messed up family and all of the stuff that's happening. So there's this thing that happens with the Marvel movies, and it's part of why I'm fairly partial to them. And it's that instead of just making like a superhero movie, and trust me, they do borrow very heavily from their superhero playbook for each film. But a lot of the good ones, or at least the better ones, are another genre film with the superhero template slapped on top of it. Like Ant-Man was fun for me because it was a heist movie that happened to be a superhero movie, and the Captain America Winter Soldier was one of my favorites because it was a really cool like spy thriller that happened to be a superhero movie. And I think for this one, the template for it very much is Star Wars-esque space opera. It borrows very heavily from that playbook.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that they were able to keep this up. For this one, I do agree with you that you can't have that same shine that, you know, completely unique, unexpected film would have. You know, a sequel is always going to be sharing the light from the first one. But you know, I think they were able to keep the excitement going, the personalities of the characters, which is something that, you know, in other franchises maybe played off more as a joke than anything else. But the characters here really did come alive. The only exception, I would say, would be Gamora, who I think was a little bit diminished in this. And I'm not too sure if it's because they didn't really know what to do with her. Because she's becoming softer, because she's got a possible budding relationship, an unspoken thing that's happening between her and Star-Lord. But even with Nebula coming in there, Nebula was a badass for most of the film, and and then there is that sort of makeup moment where
and a wild card.
Yeah. But with Gamora, she's kind of static here. And not to say anything bad against Zoe Saldana, it's just I don't think they gave her enough to do here. She did have some pivotal scenes, but could have really been anybody else in there. I'm hoping that the next time that she appears that we see her used a little bit more strongly, and not just kind of fall into the 90s Marvel use of her, which was kind of bleh.
My fear for her is, and I agree, she's probably the weakest of the characters as we saw her realized on screen here. My fear for her is that she falls into, the role of the girlfriend. And honestly, when I think about the first film, like her most, compared to the other characters who had much more stark personality, she was already starting to fall into that mold a little bit. Not quite. She had some cool things to do.
She was Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, she was Kevin Bacon. Not Mary Poppins. She was Kevin Bacon. But in this one, I did like the stuff with her and Nebula just because it gave her some sort of development and growth outside of her relationship in whatever capacity to Star-Lord. Like, I liked seeing her interact with a non-Star-Lord character here. That said, I thought Karen Gillan for me personally, I thought she was the stronger of the two just because I liked seeing her play a badass, and I liked seeing her play, like you mentioned, a wild card, and I liked seeing her, kind of having a begrudging, back down towards the end as opposed to just, like, being completely assertive all the way through. It was there was some stuff there that I quite enjoyed. I'm worried for Guardians 3 just because I think that I don't know what they can do with Gamora at this point, and I'm hoping they do something great and they prove me wrong, but I'm a little worried, to be honest.
Yeah. I say they make the Infinity Watch and just be done with it. Like, she and Drax can go off and have adventures with Adam, and it'll be and Pip, and it'll be fabulous. Like,
it was also interesting reading about the conception of this film. Initially, apart from the cameo they would get, Adam Warlock was supposed to be a principal character in this.
Yeah.
And Gunn felt it was just too much. Well, thank God.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that was probably, if there was that feel that the Sovereign was going to be more important, then that could have been the original direction. Ego would have been a side story.
Yeah, the original direction was Warlock was a part of this, and then post-credits introduction would have been Richard Rider.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he also felt that it's good at this point to have Star-Lord as the only human. And that's why
Well, and the fact is that he is.
You're like, oh, sigh, Richard Rider.
Well, the thing is, now he is actually human again, and I think that was an interesting way to end the status quo. Is, well, we've established that he's half god from the first movie, so okay, let's overpower him in some way. He's not just a smarmy jackass, but he's a smarmy jackass with celestial powers. And they
Who made a
basically
ball.
take that back. Yeah, but they walked that back, which was good. By the way,
He made a Pac-Man.
he did make a Pac-Man.
He did make a
He did make a
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Speaking of the content of the film, I'm just wondering, did anybody ever have a Zune?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
I had not the one he had, but the next generation, the smaller one. Yeah, I had that.
That's what all the kids are listening to these days.
It was so popular, like I had to fight people off at Best Buy to get it. Come on.
Okay.
The
I
only,
love
the only
that.
time that I've heard anybody in popular culture talk about Zune was in, what was the precursor, Adam Reed's precursor to Archer?
Frisky Dingo.
Where-
Fuck yeah, that was one of my favorite shows ever.
One of the engineers was always complaining about, where's my Zune? I need my Zune. Oh, I dropped my Zune. Like, it was just a running gag. I loved it.
Why don't we move on to some news? I can't necessarily call it comic news, but comic-connected news. Throwing it over to Steve. Steve, tell us about some of the developments in the geek culture world.
Oh, Jesus. This week, I'm talking about the week of May, where are we? May 8th, has seen a lot of really great announcements. In fact, right before we started recording, Will had mentioned that they've officially cast 2 of the new characters for the upcoming New Mutants X-Men universe movie. We also have Gifted, which is the X-Men TV series, probably going to be on Fox this fall. I believe it's going to be airing on Fox rather than FX. That's also been officially picked up. In fact, there's going to be a trailer that's released within the next couple of days. But we also have Krypton, that Jester reminded us earlier, has actually been given the green light. So that's going to go ahead on Sci-Fi Channel for the 2017-2018 television year. Black Lightning has been picked up, has gone past pilot, and is now going to be a full series on the CW, which gives them five DC shows, specifically DC superhero shows, in this coming season for 2017-2018, in addition to iZombie already on there. Man, I mean, there's just so much, which I'm just briefly mentioning them because there's way too many. I mean, we've got Runaways coming on Hulu. That's been made official. And again, we've seen sort of a teaser trailer from that was stolen from, I think, one of the recent Comic-Cons. But that's going to see an official trailer soon. We've got Cloak and Dagger coming for the, Moody Tween set, which I'm still going to watch. It's definitely going to be another banner television season for comic-related series. I'm not sure if anybody else is really excited for anything in particular as well.
Well, also Powerless got canceled. Unfortunately. I liked it.
Sony's going to make it almost impossible for people to watch, then it's on them.
And then
if I want to watch Powerless, a better version of Powerless, I'll just go watch Better Off Dead.
That is so true. But by the last episode that I saw, they had what's her name from The Middleman? I never remember her name.
Morales.
Yeah, and like it was really getting good. Like I hate this with shows. Like this is why Netflix, Hulu, all those, like they at least invest in a whole like story. They won't do this little like, all right, we'll see how it goes. All right, cancel it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like Powerless on another network would have actually maybe done a bit more, but I mean they did give it what, like 6 episodes.
No, I think it got through 9.
9?
Okay, I thought
it got
it,
through
yeah.
9.
And they do have the additional episodes that they are at some point probably able to burn off.
I
maybe for the summer.
think they contracted the order from 13 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they filmed 12. I couldn't get around Vanessa Hudgens. I just don't find her appealing at all.
She was better in the later episode. The later
I
episodes,
find her
I think
grating.
they started to soften her.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things I as much as I kind of ribbed on it, like I enjoyed the show in a kind of a fun / hate watchy kind of way.
Oh, like Gotham?
Gotham.
Oh no, I ditched that. But no, like Powerless, like it was a guilty pleasure for me. It was the type of thing where like I would objectively go, I don't know that this is good at all. In fact, I think this is actively bad, and yet I still kind of drew enjoyment from it. And I will say, like, there's a lot of sitcoms out there that go through a season, even a season and a half before they get their
absolutely.
Parks and Rec is one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, and its first season was just awful. But it's because they realized how to reshuffle their cast members and get better things going on. And Vanessa Hudgens, to her credit, like, I think towards the last couple of episodes, I think they started to make her, for me, a slightly less likable character, and that made her more enjoyable. Like, she was less Miss Perfect, and we got to see more of her ego coming out. And I thought that was a good direction for them to take it. But yeah, I guess I didn't get to take it too long. It's unfortunate, but I think the writing was on the wall for that one for a long time. If this wasn't going to make it too far, right?
Well, yeah, but NBC, I think, didn't, when you talk about how these, not studios, but well, yeah, I mean Warner Brothers was the one filming it, not Sony, but some of these channels just don't give the series a real chance, and this one had been basically kicked off the schedule a couple weeks in a row. So it was getting to the point where it was very hard to actually watch it if you did want to watch it. So any kind of momentum that they could have had, or any kind of, people who could have possibly, gotten used to it or decide to pick it up and maybe give it a couple more chances, almost couldn't. So, if it was on something like a Hulu or something like Netflix, they would at least be able to have some complete set of episodes that people could either binge if they wanted to or watch on their own time, rather than try and figure out when it's going to be on next, whether this week or next week or the week after.
Yeah.
So
one show that I'm delighted to see getting picked up for the fourth season is iZombie.
Yeah.
This season has been wonderful. And you get worried when a show is a Back 13 show. You get worried. That's usually a graveyard. But if there's a network that could succeed, it certainly is the CW. What are we on, like our fifth season of the 100 or something?
Fourth, but they are getting renewed again.
Yeah, so one thing we haven't talked about is the one show that hasn't gotten an official renewal yet, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I also think is a vastly improved show.
I swear.
I'm pretty sure Brian
this season.
is in real strong agreement with me on that.
I have loved this show from the beginning, and yes, it's not been perfect, and yes, there have been all kinds of problems, but overall, the core group is fantastic together. The ups and downs, even if I don't love the Inhumans, I swear the show might have changed my mind a bit. Like this last season, like specifically this last story, and I don't want to spoil much, but let's just say Hydra's involved. Very timely with many things going on right now. It was so good. Like it has to come back. It just has to.
Well,
they could change it, totally reinvent it. I hope they shake up the Ant Farm, because one of the things this show does great is they like blow up their base every like few episodes. So it's kind of like the Xavier Mansion at some levels. Like it's just, you know what? Screw this status quo. All right, shake it up. And
Brian, good news.
What's that?
It got renewed.
What?
TV Guide, EW, Deadline, Greg Clark, Marvel Entertainment, they all tweeting it. It's season 5 has been picked up.
Just now?
Oh,
as in an hour ago.
Oh, okay, good.
yes.
Well, that's
Yes! Okay, I'm good.
You were sounding like really hopeless, almost like, oh no, I didn't want. So I did try not to interrupt people, but I thought you'd like to know. Yeah,
Great.
so season 8, it's all picked up.
One thing I had heard, and you get this with a number of shows, was that Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, and what's her face guy, Chloe Bennett.
Chloe Bennett.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chloe Bennett.
Apparently, all three of them, because of the way that pay scales are structured, are all in for huge raises.
Oh.
So it'll be interesting to see if all three of them survive that.
At least 2 of those have to.
Yeah.
Clark Gregg doesn't have anything going on. I'm sure he'll probably stick around for free. Well, maybe there'll be a New Adventures of Old Christine renewal for a reunion special or something. I don't know.
Would there be? Oh.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I'm
no,
so
that's
thrilled. So thrilled.
I'm wondering if what they're going to do with that is similar to how they handled Agent Carter. where they'll have the Inhumans for maybe the first part of the fall season and then go straight into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or if they'll be airing concurrently.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. What was this season? 22 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we could have done without the middle arc as far as I was concerned.
I don't know. I actually enjoyed the.
I thought LMD lasted way too long.
It was set
I
up
thought-
for what came after. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand why you do it, but yeah, there were some slow moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just some shows that benefit from a shorter season.
If they
Sure.
cut out
Yeah.
2 episodes from that middle arc, yeah, definitely. I think they could.
Can we just make
Well, that's what
Inhumans a mini, like a 2-episode miniseries? Like, there's nothing. And admittedly, I'm throwing shade on this thing that isn't really out there yet, but like nothing I've seen makes me excited except maybe it was filmed in Oahu. Like that's about the most exciting thing I can think right now.
Girl, I'm all over her Party City wig, like Medusa's hair. It's just
lace
flat
front
there, it's flat
thing.
there, it's flat everywhere.
So
Girl.
So I'm not
I
the only
thought she
one that
looked like
thought that,
Fergie.
right?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I
Oh
looked
well.
at that first picture and I thought, is this picture of this really limp, really like fake orange hair supposed to get me excited about Medusa? Because it's not. Like, I get that like it's just a promo image and we need to see the final product because you don't know how it's going to look once it's all computed up. But at the same time, this is the image that they are using to promote it, and it's fair game. If they do a bad job of promoting their show, let's shit on it. I don't care. So it did not put a very good taste in my mouth. That wig has got to go. RuPaul would not approve.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I showed
Right?
the picture to my husband, who actually is a wig master, and he looked at it going, "Is this an official picture? Because that looks like somebody snuck on set." And I'm like, "No, that's after a stylist handled it." And he's like, "Oh God, that's really disappointing."
I wish I could show you guys a picture of Mrs. Garvin, my high school English teacher, so you could see, yes, there are people that really have hair like that. What was your husband's reaction to Crystal? Because if you bought Medusa's at Party City, you only went over to Target for crystals.
Girl, that was shake and go.
Okay.
I like Crystal's look. I thought it looked like she was. It's like they definitely de-aged her or made her younger for the show. But I mean, as a teenager, I thought she looked good as a teenager.
Well, I would have preferred that they went with her new look, because her new look is very easy to pull off.
Yeah.
With the short kind of spiky do. But maybe they wanted to distance her from probably how they're going to be styling Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
And in terms of some of the other new shows, Black Lightning, I think it's really interesting that they're going to have a superhero show with someone who's in middle age.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
isn't it that he's already sort of hung up his mantle, and now he's getting back into it because his daughters are. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. However they put it together, maybe they'll have Blue Devil, because I'm one of those people who actually enjoys Black Lightning and Blue Devil.
No, you are the people.
I am all the people.
You are the people
who enjoy Blue Devil.
Oh my God, I thought that was painful. Oh.
So this is another CW show. Can what's his name? Chris Williams.
Yeah.
Does he have a singing background? Because I feel like we need to have that for the CW show, right?
Seriously,
well, they're
yes.
going to do another musical for sure.
But let me just say, the one they did with the Flash and Arrow, was that the other?
No, Supergirl and Arrow.
Supergirl. That was really not the best. Like, I love hearing them sing, but whoever did that music is awful. I mean, it's just garbage.
Well, they just need to have, because Joss Whedon is going to be coming into the DC universe with Batgirl, hopefully. Maybe they can get him to write the music for the next one.
He's got experience writing televised musicals.
For the same network, no less.
Yeah.
So
it would be foolish not to.
Yeah.
So switching over from the small screen to the big screen, since we have a movie bear in our presence, Will, of the upcoming movies that are slated, which ones are you in particular looking for in relation to the comic book adaptation films?
So the one that was mentioned sort of at the beginning of the new segment is the one that has me most jazzed for a few different reasons. When it comes to comic books, I think that my absolute favorite era of comics, my favorite team, my favorite set of characters, gun to my head, is got to be the New Mutants. That's my favorite group of characters ever. And So the fact that we've got a movie coming out about them already has me jazzed. But the two actresses that we've cast so far for this, I think would be almost like Dreamcast, like that thing where you'd like kind of in your head kind of cast a film, like, oh, in a perfect world I put so and so here, so and so here.
My 1989 Batman is a wonderful film.
I want to see that 1989 Batman.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin and Tim Curry.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but Tim Curry is Batman, and Alec Baldwin is Poison Ivy. There we go. It's the new one.
I like both of those, to be honest. But yeah, here we've got like Maisie Williams, who admittedly, we haven't seen in a whole lot of things outside of Game of Thrones. Not that she's completely inexperienced, but just physically, she is a, you cut that brown hair down, you've got a damn near perfect Wolfsbane for me. And I can't rave enough about how much I love Anya Taylor-Joy as an actress. She was the lead in one of the best movies of last year called The Witch. She also took lead in a less good movie from last year called Morgan, but she wasn't the problem with that one. And she was also the lead in the latest Shyamalan movie, Split. So between all of those roles, she's really stood out to me as someone who's got some chops and has got a lot of presence. So I'm on board to see her in just about any movie. And the fact that she's going to be playing a character from one of my favorite comic book franchises, that has got to be at the top of my list right now.
Okay, and Steve, you had mentioned this. What about The Gifted? We didn't talk about that.
Well, The Gifted, that's the they had actually originally announced it as just a pilot. They were going to test it out, see if it'll be something, like they do with pilots. Starring Mr. I keep thinking him as Mr. Anna Paquin, but it's Stephen Moyer, as well as help me out. What is the actress's name? She played Fred from Angel. She's a Whedonverse alumna. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they basically play a couple of parents whose children are develop their powers as mutants, and in doing so, they have to now go on the run. And in their trying to find a safe haven, they end up with a team of mutants who are there to help. And of those mutants, I think we already have Blink cast, Polaris. I believe they also just cast Warpath, and
it's interesting they're listing it as Thunderbird.
Yes, Thunderbird. That's right. And a couple other ones that have already been named, but I think they're obviously still building up their roster because they've really only completed and been in had the pilot accepted, so they've still got a lot of work left to go and a lot of filming. But it sounds like we'll actually get maybe a small screen equivalent of the New Mutants to prep us for the coming movie version. One of the interesting things too, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but Valiant, for those of you who are interested in that, they of course announced recently that they do have a deal to put out a series of films. I'm always apprehensive because, again, Valiant's not a massive comic studio that has a lot of name recognition, but they already have a proof of concept with their web series coming up, Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. They do have a series. They just announced a series of photo covers, variant covers, promoting the upcoming TV series for the fall with the different characters that are being brought to life. And I'm actually really excited about this because I'm a huge Valiant guy. They already have the Eternal Warrior. They've got Ninjak, of course. And they're going to be revealing several other characters as it goes along. Bloodshot, Archer and Armstrong, etc. So us Valiant people are very happy about that. I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype and isn't a disappointment.
Okay, well, I think that's plenty of TV and film watching ahead of us there. But let's turn it back over to the source material that this show is dedicated to. Let's talk about some comic books. I'm going to throw it over to our guest, Will. Will, tell us about a book that you're reading.
For me, I go through these weird cycles with comic books. I start buying a few comics, and then I buy a few more, and I buy a few more, and then I'm buying so many a month that my budget can no longer support it, and I just decide to cold turkey, and I'm just gonna take a break from comic books for a month, just like and part of it too, my last step away happened. Just I'm getting event fatigue pretty bad right now. Like I was just getting caught up in all the different crossovers and relaunches and whatever. So I just recently came back to picking up a few titles, and I decided to start where my love of comics began, and that's with some of the new X-Men titles. So the one that I'd like to talk about, although there's kind of two that are on my radar, is I'm enjoying X-Men Blue right now. We are only 2 issues into it so far. I like the original X-Men team as much as I kind of originally disliked the idea of let's just do the X-Men but young again. It did not reek of it didn't have the originality I wanted from it. I really like these characters. I really like what they're doing with them. I feel like they've each grown in ways on page that the older characters that they're based on, I feel like even some of those older characters are a little stagnant or dead right now. So seeing a young Jean Grey, seeing a young Jean Grey as the leader of this team, seeing a Hank McCoy who's discovered magic and has decided to put all of his curiosity there. I'm really liking seeing that, and so I'm very curious to see where that title goes. I'm going to keep following it, and then all of the little spin-offs for it, like Jean Grey and Iceman. There's a lot of good things happening there. So for right now, I've got my eye on the X-Men books.
Justin, how about you? What are you reading that you're digging?
I am. I hate to say this, but I'm really enjoying Secret Empire. I'm getting close to event fatigue as well. I've always had a very high tolerance for that. It's really super interesting, and the whole idea of a Captain America as a good, evil, bad guy, I really, really enjoy it. So I've been liking that, and all the many spin-offs as I've been able to snag right now. I've been really enjoying that. Now I will say one thing: I really am liking the Rebirth as well. I just have not gotten to read as much of it as I want, and I'm hoping to get caught up on that in the next couple of weeks. So, Bill, the Superman Rebirth, what you were talking about over the spring, was truly some of the best Superman stories I've read in a very long time. So
one of the best course corrections ever.
Yes,
in comics.
I mean they took what they knew that was missing from the title, fixed it, and it's like they're just moving on and not even And that's what they should do. I mean, they acknowledged it, fixed it, and so and it seems like they're doing that with a lot of the other titles too, like Titans and things like that. So the Rebirth has been doing well for me, but I mean, I've been really enjoying Secret Empire. I'm just kind of looking to take a breath after this summer, after everything's over. So
whether it's Justin or other people can chime in, what are some of the tie-ins with Secret Empire that have come out so far? Because I know we're only at the 0 in the first issue, right? Of the main series and the free comic book day bullshit thing. What else has come out so far in relation to Secret Empire tie-ins?
Uprising, I believe that's the one. And I have them on my iPad, and I don't have them on me right now.
Okay.
It's on the Marvel app. But there's not hasn't been a lot, but there's been a lot of Road to Secret Empire in the title. Like you almost have to have read Steve Rogers Captain America, Sam Wilson Captain America to brought up, as well as the tie-ins with the Uncanny Avengers, because there's a whole arc where after they got Professor Xavier's brain out of Red Skull, I really honestly thought Captain America was going to kill Rogue, because she took it and would not let him have it. Okay. I mean, it was very telling. Like even through some of the other things that have been going on, Civil War 2. You're able to see some of this stuff that has been affecting like the way Captain America played Tony Stark through to pit him against Captain Marvel, the manipulation, stuff like that. So I mean, over the past year, there's been a lot to it, and it worked for me. It's excited for me.
As somebody who's down to 4 Marvel books right now, there's no way I can claim expertise in this right now. I believe Thunderbolts, this current incarnation of Thunderbolts, was also heavily connected to the
It was
Road to
with
Secret
Bucky.
Empire. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with Bucky.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff. Like I guess I shouldn't have said tie-ins right now because that's coming. That's starting this week, next week, and coming forward. But from everything else, there's been you have the Zero, you have number one, and of course, everyone's heard what they did to one of the long-running people, Rick Jones. Who knows how they'll bring him back or if they'll bring him back, but that was particularly brutal.
Oh, he survived cancer and ROM, so.
But he did not. So far, he did not survive the firing squad.
Yeah. Just in terms of tie-in merchandising, I'll talk a little bit later about Free Comic Book Day. But has anybody seen the short box that Marvel put out for Secret Invasion?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
I mean,
they did the same thing. They did the same thing with X-Men.
X-Men, yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
I mean, it's not $10 beautiful, but it's beautiful.
Okay. All I can think is when DC starts doing that, oh, my sunk. Oh, boy. Let me throw it over to Brian. Brian, tell us about something you read.
So there have been a lot of books since we've last talked, and many have kind of caught my eye, and many have disappointed me, and Marvel took away the beautiful gift that is the digital codes, and because so many of us said, fuck you, Marvel, we're not buying your shit anymore, brought it back, which I'm really happy about.
Yes.
But honestly, if I had to pick something that came out of nowhere, caught my eye, and is worth mentioning that you haven't already mentioned, because by the way, X-Men Blue is fabulous. You're absolutely right, Will. And Secret Empire is not too bad either. I'm not going to complain. Bug, the Adventures of Forager.
I can't wait to read this.
All of the Allreds, by the way. So I guess, is Lee their son? Like,
no, he's Mike's like very younger brother. I think there's a 15-year age difference.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Mormons,
I didn't realize that. So Mike Allred, if you're a fan, and I know not all of us are, I think Justin is.
I have been. I am warming up.
Whoa!
I remember when you were saying, when we came to the first images of Batman 66 Legion, you were like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not my favorite style, but I can see it has a point and a place and if the right characters. Like, I would not like to see him doing Avengers or Justice League, but something retro from the 60s or something trippy. Like, even actually, I was thinking he'd be good on Doctor Strange.
He would. I would love
very
that.
Good.
I mean, I can see where he's not as abysmal as what I thought he was 5 years ago, and I can appreciate his stuff.
I'm so glad you say that because yes, it is their stuff. Michael, and then I believe inked and colored or just inked. Laura Allred. I have to double check that. Like, they've been killing it on Silver Surfer. I think Silver Surfer is one of the most overlooked books currently at Marvel. In many things, in many ways, and even though it's been caught up in all the events, it's just been solid and lovely and very worth picking up, even if you're not a fan of Silver Surfer. But I think that's coming to an end, and Laura Allred does the colors. Okay. So
I just heard an interview with Dan Slott, and that's not the case.
Really?
He says he has at least 25 more Silver Surfer issues.
Oh, fabulous!
Yeah, the breaks, and I think that's been to the detriment of the series. Yeah. Because some of the breaks have been unexpected.
Very much.
With books solicited for a November release and they don't come out until April. I believe it was only posted yesterday that there may be substantial breaks, but Silver Surfer is not ending, and neither him or the Allreds want that to happen.
Well, I didn't know if they were making a big jump because, I mean, although I think this is only a 6-issue miniseries for Young Animal.
Yeah, the first Young Animal miniseries.
This is great. It's Kirby. It's Fourth World. It's got other things that look like they're portending, Dead Man and a classic, I think, still probably Golden Age Sandman. And this is where you guys who are more DC literate would know more, but
yeah, and you have Atlas, which is a rarely used Kirby character. Yeah,
I mean, and OMAC, like classic OMAC, like this, as much as the Giffen and DiDio stuff has been, and as much as Kamandi, the Kamandi challenge has sort of been, like, this is a love letter to Kirby. And the art by Allred just absolutely sings, and it's totally worth and fitting of the story. And it's batshit crazy. Like, there were times I had to kind of flip back and forth to sort of understand what the hell was going on, and I still don't. But to me, that's not a bad thing. I'm okay with that first issue giving me more of an image and a theme and a voice to sort of get excited about. And then if maybe at the end there's like some things to sort of grab me like a hook, great. I'm sold. But I mean, this, again, if you're a fan of Allred, I don't even need to sell you on this. But if you're a fan of Kirby, like, this is the stuff. Like, I don't see Kirby dots. That's about the only thing. Oh no, I'm wrong. There are Kirby dots. I'm flipping through this like, oh, I don't think there's any Kirby dots. Oh no, there is. If you like Mike Allred drawing a spotted camel, you can get that here. Little teddy bear action, some dominoes, like crazy shit that I would never expect to see in one combination. And yet that's what makes comics so amazing, is you can throw a spotted camel and dominoes and a teddy bear and a little girl and this crazy Kirby-esque world. You can do all of that together, and it's fabulous. And it'll never be adapted into a movie, a TV show, a drama on the radio, or a podcast. This is something unique to comics. And in this day and age, with everything and their brother being adapted and turned into something else, it is lovely to see something that is pure, 100% straight from the king comic books. So Bug, capital, all caps, exclamation, The Adventures of Forager just came out. So go run to your LCS and pick it up.
And we have this audio clip of you saying that, and we'll play it back when the 2020 season starts and we have Bug on CW. Okay.
Or BBC comes up with a radio play for it. Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's go over to Steve. Steve, tell us about something you're reading.
I think I picked this up out of curiosity and nostalgia more than anything else. And it's not even normal nostalgia where you're like, oh God, I really love that. More of like, did I really love that? I need to pick this up to make sure I actually loved it. And of course, I'm talking about Youngblood #1. Youngblood, of course, was one of the launch titles for the original Image when it first launched, or first was jump started by a bunch of disaffected Marvel artists. And, this is, of course, the 25-year anniversary this year. So, of course, it's fitting that Rob Liefeld would be bringing back Youngblood. It's been kind of dormant for the past several years. And I know there's been a couple attempts for him to jumpstart it again. But this, I think, right now is a pretty fortuitous time for him to make the attempt to bring it back and hopefully keep it running on a regular pace so that we're not waiting years between issues. This one actually is written by, or at least the main story is written by Chad Bowers, who, if you've been reading any of X-Men 92, he's one of the co-writers on that. And he also co-wrote Downset Fight. He's semi-local to the Carolinas, I believe. He might be in South Carolina. He's also adorable. So if you ever have a chance to see him at any comic convention on the East Coast, go up and say hi. He always looks very spiffy in his button-downs and ties and chunky glasses, and he's also adorable. But anyway, he's on writing duties for the main story, and Jim Toh is on the art. Now, Jim, I'm not familiar with his artwork, and it's a very interesting style. It's kind of it actually feels very indie. It feels very almost self-published. Not to say that it's bad at all. I don't want to give that impression, but it's very different, and I think the colors that they use for it really bring it out as a very unique style. I'm not sure if he's fully developed it yet, so there does seem to be a room for him to grow. But you see him playing with panels, you see him playing with action and splash pages as well. So you know that he's at that stage as an artist where I think that he's got some potential there. He's I think the only other books that I've seen him on is Riverdale, which just came out from Archie Comics, and I think maybe an issue of Reggie. But this is a pretty interesting start for him, and I would think a relatively high profile for him. So if you're not familiar with Youngblood, I actually honestly didn't remember all that much from the series back in 1992 either. But jumping into this, it basically picks up several years after the Youngblood team has been disbanded. So several of the key players are in prison or somehow out of commission. The president is now President Diehard, who of course is one of the characters, and his wife Vogue is the first lady. Again, corollaries are Captain America and Black Widow. All of these sort of have very Marvel corollary type characters, but it is really exciting to see them progress in the story. And I think you could tell Chad Bowers had a lot of fun putting them in this kind of future position where you've got the president of the United States as a former superhero / assassin. And several of the characters are out of commission, but of course being brought back in because something is going on. There's another interesting concept of the use of a superhero app, kind of like an Uber, but for superheroics. And I'm kind of excited in this because it's very different from the Youngblood that I remember, the vague Youngblood memories that I have. And it's been very much modernized, and I'm hoping that it can go in a direction that maintains some of the excitement of the original Youngblood, if not, the good plotting of that series, but also some of the humor that I know that Bowers is known for. And of course, Rob Liefeld does have a short 4-page story in the back of this, so you do actually get to see him plot as well as draw. And I do have to say, and I know Justin, we've talked about this a lot before. I'm not a huge fan of Liefeld's art, but I think he's improved a bit. It's still very Liefeld-esque, but the feet kind of look like feet, and not everybody has tons of pouches. So, yeah.
But are they all scowling?
They are all scowling, and one of them kind of looks like is smoking a cigar, kind of Wolverine-like. Okay. So, there's some of that.
Yeah. But if you didn't have the scowls and the pouches and the bad feet, you wouldn't know it was Liefeld's art. So, I mean, that's a plus, right?
For the broken spines.
Broken spine, weird pelvises. But no, I think if those of you are curious out there, weren't sure where to pick it up, go ahead and pick it up. I mean, at the worst it can be is sort of a jumpstart of your memories of why you got into Image Comics in the first place, because honestly, Youngblood was what introduced the world to Image. Or if you really enjoyed the original titles over the past 20 years and want to give it a go, see how it does. So I do recommend picking it up. It's not the best thing on the shelf today, but it's got a lot of potential. So there we go.
When you say that this is several years since the team has been together, I'm really interested to read it because the last attempt at a Youngblood series was written by Joe Casey, and I thought the most interesting aspect, and I know this does follow with some of the other Image series from the original batch like Spawn and Savage Dragon, in that they firmly established that the characters have aged in real time from 92. Is that the case here, or is it not exactly aligned with what you're seeing in the series?
No, they actually do look like they've aged about 25 years.
Okay.
The universe in which they're where everybody's kind of living, I think is presented as sort of a near future. So kind of like what you would see in an X-Men comic, where there's a lot of technology out there that probably isn't, equivalent to what we have today. There's a couple other things that are very different, but it does feel very much connected to the original Youngblood. So you're not being dropped into something where there is no familiarity, but it's much more advanced than it was 20, 25 years ago. I'm not too sure of the more recent series and attempts at restarts. I don't know if they were fully in line with the with continuity, or if they kind of were outside or ignored the past. I'm not too sure, but this one.
Well, I'm going to talk about a series that actually outsold Secret Empire in both of the 2 issues that have come out in relation to this story arc. And I'm talking, well, actually 3 now, because we had Batman 22 last week. And I'm talking about the Button from DC, which is part of Rebirth. And in the 3 issues that we have so far, Batman is continuing his investigation to a button that he found in the Batcave with a spot of blood, and the button is a smiley face button. I really, really loved the first issue from Batman. I have not been the biggest Tom King fan on Batman. This was by far, I thought, his best issue. It's interesting how in trying to solve this mystery, you get and this was something that Jeff Johns had done really well at his peak, where he weaves in elements of very disparate franchises that are part of the DC universe. So in here we have a 90-year-old Johnny Thunder, and we have Saturn Girl, and I know we had the framework that was provided from the initial Rebirth issue, but it's established with the story opening in Arkham Asylum that is where Saturn Girl is right now, because she is trying to express to people that she actually is from the future, and since it's Gotham, they think she's crazy. It's clear that one of her possessions that is being held is a Legion flight ring. So the crazy rant that Saturn Girl goes on moves over to like an almost seamless transition to Batman in the Batcave looking at the smiley face button. Really, it's really good storytelling. And the villain that Batman faces in the first issue is Reverse Flash, and there's a sequence where the Flash tells him that he can get to the Batcave, but he won't be there for a minute. And what you have told in the seconds of a stop, of a digital readout, is 60 seconds of mostly Reverse Flash kicking Batman's ass. Goes on for about 7 or 8 pages. It's just really good storytelling. And we haven't gotten the ta-da Watchmen moment yet in relation to where the story is going. The story continues into Flash number 21, and Justin, it's my favorite artist on duties there, Howard Porter. Somehow he can't ruin this. Not nearly as effective as what we saw in Batman 21. The investigation continues, and we end up at Batman 22, where Batman faces off. I guess faces off isn't necessarily the correct terminology I should use. Batman encounters the Thomas Wayne version of Batman, which was basically a Barry Allen creation because of Flashpoint. We still have 1 issue to go, Flash number 22. It's a very high-octane story so far. It's moving very, very fast, like as any story with a Flash component, I think, should. I'm looking forward to the end of the story, and I also think it's very interesting that they are limiting this to 4 issues, because I think less sensible editorial heads may have made this a summer event spread over 26 issues. That's what I'm reading right now, the Button story arc that's running between Batman and Flash right now in DC Comics.
So one of the really interesting thing is, and it is very quick and it's in the background, but as they're running through the time stream, they're seeing images of basically Silver Age Justice League. They're also seeing different events from the past of the DCU, so including Crisis, including the death of Barry Allen. And as they're seeing these flashes, they are commenting on it. And I know with Rebirth, since the launch of the initiative, they've touted it as a way to make all of the history, all of the past storylines and narratives valid again, sort of erasing what happened with the New 52. Not erasing it, but in a way just sort of saying the New 52 was kind of a bubble, and there was so much that came before that bubble, and now it's either burst or merged or whatever, what have you. But this is the first time where, or at least one of the first times, that it's been acknowledged since the launch that these events have happened the way that they happened. And the characters are recognizing that there's something else there. So obviously Superman was another, the sort of rebirth of Superman was the other side, where they were bringing back the history of Superman. But this one, it's Batman and Flash seeing the history of the Justice League, seeing the history of the DC Universe, and of course Flash seeing his own death. And it's very quick. And like you said, this could have been a 26, 30 plus issue crossover extravaganza event for the summer. But the fact that they're limiting it to 4 allows them to sort of open the door for other series to kind of tackle it in their own way without overtly tying everything in, but in a way allowing them to go at their own pace, have those plots make use of that if they need to, instead of forcing everybody into this giant storyline. But I'm excited for the end of it.
And it does feel like a preamble, but there's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that.
No, not at all.
Nothing wrong with that.
And we do know that, at some point they are going to wrap it up into some massive event, but hopefully it's not until fall.
Yeah, latest I heard was 2018.
Ooh,
when
well, that's
things
good too.
really get going. So, okay, we've been at this for a while, so we're going to transition to the final segment of our show. And longtime listeners will know that segment is the Woofs of the Week segment, where we spotlight anything, be it a comic book, being it a TV show, being it a charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener, may enjoy. We are nothing if not gracious to our guests, so we're going to start with Mr. Lindis. Will, what is your Woof of the Week?
Oh, man. Well, there's 4 Wolf of the Weeks right here. You guys are absolutely adorable, and thank you so much for
flattery gets you anywhere.
Everywhere.
But I guess past that, the thing that I would like to call out is, I got to take it back to movie stuff. There is a film that there's this film out right now called Your Name that I really, really want more people to see. This film did gangbusters in Japan last year. It was the top grossing film in Japan, and it just recently, within the last few weeks, hit over here. It's an anime film that's sort of a crossover between a Nicholas Sparks kind of across time and space romance story with some elements of Freaky Friday and some disaster elements built in as well. It's got a little bit of everything pulled in, and it does it all so expertly well. The movie's called Your Name. I think it's in theaters in many areas right now, but if not, it'll be available for streaming before long. It's really cool. You should totally check it out.
Okay, let's move on to Justin. Justin, what is your Woof of the Week?
I just want to do kind of like a general shout out for like any listeners, anyone for the next few months. It is in the middle of primary election season. I know Pennsylvania's is coming up next week. We've got a lot of other states coming through in June and July. So if anybody was discouraged by November's turnout or results and has been frustrated over the past 100 and some days, you got to get out and vote. So, once again, you can always go to mytimetovote.com and take a look to see what's going on and coming up in your area. So let's get out and vote.
Absolutely. 111, but who's counting?
Oh, God. Oh, my.
Let's move on to Mr. Brian. Brian, what is your Woof of the Week?
So our big comic convention here in Orlando is MegaCon, and it is coming up at the end of May, actually Memorial Day weekend. And one of the things that is really cool that they are doing for the Pulse shooting last year, they are doing a special sort of donation-based reception on Friday night of the convention, and they have big names like I think Tom King, Scott Snyder, of course Mark Andreyko, Dan Parent, pretty much anyone who is in Orlando for MegaCon and is involved with Love is Love, which is the amazing IDW DC book put out last year for the Pulse shooting, is going to be there at this reception. And it's going to be, I think tickets are $150 a piece, but what's really cool is it's all the money is going to the Equality Florida, which is a charity that I've donated to, and anyone who's in Florida who supports LGBT rights and advocacy has donated to and heard of. Very reputable, very, very awesome organization. So if you're in Orlando and you want to come out, I will probably be there. I have not bought my ticket yet, but it's pretty much almost a done deal at this point. And it's going to be great. I mean, just to hobnob with some comic pros, but also to give money back to a great cause. So if you're there, look for me. I should be there. And if you don't find me there, I'll be at the show on Saturday, running around. So MegaCon is, like I said, Memorial Day weekend, and it's a pretty great show. It's not as comic centric as I wish it would be, but they've actually done some really cool stuff lately, so I'm excited.
Okay.
Are we going to see you in cosplay this year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anyone that I'm like. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. My guess is not, but I might surprise. We'll see.
I think you should go as Taserface.
Oh Lord, no.
Okay.
That's so much work. I'm a lazy cosplayer. If I can find stuff at a thrift store and or out of my closet to throw together, totally didn't do that. But if it involves prosthetics or makeup of any kind, well, much more than like shadow and some like beard, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
All right.
Well, I mean, you could just get a nice long red flat synthetic wig and go as Medusa.
Oh, Black Bolt's beard.
Ugh.
Literally.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like an idea is coming together. I think you need to do this.
If I do, our dear listeners will see it on our Facebook page.
Oh yes.
Okay, Steve, it seems like you have the mic with that last comment, so it's time for you to give us your Wolf of the Week.
As usual, because I watch way too much TV, it's going to be a TV recommendation. It's a TV wolf, and of course, because we haven't had a chance we haven't met basically since it's come out, the next big adaptation on the small screen is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. And for those of you who don't know too much about the novel that it's based on, you don't have to have read it to enjoy the absolute insanity, weirdness, craziness, and beautiful filming of this wonderful show. They are actually doing a concurrent comic adaptation of American Gods, if you're interested in that and want to kind of follow along with the show. But the show itself is just beautiful. It's brilliant. It's weird. The casting has, I mean, we've known for a while that a lot of it's been perfect, but now that the characters have actually shown up, in the series, as of this recording, there's been 2 episodes. Third one is coming up. Orlando Jones is Mr. Nancy. Stunning. Gillian Anderson as Media, incredible. Even Peter Stormare as Chernobog is, I mean, it's Peter Stormare playing Peter Stormare, but this role was made for him. Ricky Whittle as Shadow is insane. I think that everybody who's made their appearance so far, especially Mr. Whittle as Shadow and Ian McShane as Wednesday. I mean, they are carrying this series so well, so remarkably well. And I mean, the writing is incredible. Everything that you're seeing is great, but they are riveting to watch. And I can't wait to see how they tackle a lot of the things that Gaiman has thrown at his readers for years, and being able to see this on the small screen come to life is just it's a dream come true. I know a lot of people are excited about this, and it has not disappointed. So my Wolf of the Week, American Gods on Starz. Oh no, wait, what is it? Starz? Yeah, Starz.
Starz, yeah. And I believe the first episode is available for free on their website and app. Is that correct?
It is. If you do have the Starz app, the first episode is free. If you want to continue watching them, you do have to have a subscription. But you can have a subscription through, I think, Amazon Prime allows you to have a separate, a separate subscription to that.
That's how I'm watching it, Steve. So yeah, it totally works. It works as well as you'd hope.
Yep, exactly. And actually, if you do have access to the on-demand or the app, you get the episode earlier than everyone else. It actually premieres first thing in the morning on Sundays, whereas the rest of the world who are just cable-watching peons will have to wait until about 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, I'm going to give my Wolf of the Week over to some of the free comic book day events that happened over here in New Jersey. I have to say I have a particular affection for the first Saturday in May. The first free comic book day was one of the things in the 2002 that really got me back into reading and collecting comics. I don't know what the terrain is like where you guys live, but there are a couple stores, not necessarily that close to me. It was about like a 45-minute drive, but some of the stores go all out. And the stores that I'm talking about, who my woofs are directed at, are Dewey's Comic City in Madison, New Jersey, and Eastside Mags in Montclair, New Jersey. At Eastside Mags, I had the pleasure of seeing our friend Jamal Igle, who was one of the creators who was providing free sketches there for the day. And I got a wonderful version of the Ray that he put on my Justice League of America sketch cover. And at the other store, which was Dewey's, as I mentioned, their invite goes every year out to recent and career Kubert School alums, because Dover is not too far from Madison in New Jersey, and got some wonderful pieces there. Saw a lot of people I know, and I just love that event. Got a stack of almost everything. I'm still waiting for 3 from DCBS, including the Death of Pepe the Frog and the Fantagraphics offering from this year. Free Comic Book Day in New Jersey. That's my wolf of the week. So that's the end of our show. Again, Will, thank you so much for joining us. It's been way too long. I know a lot of us have been on your show, but it's been some time since you've been on ours.
There are absolutely no drought of comic book movies to talk about. So, yeah, I'd love to come back and talk to you guys again.
All right. Well, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do so through iTunes. You can also access us through Stitcher Radio. And if you want to send something to us, you can do so via email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. So until next time, I'm Billy Z.
I'm Justin Allen.
I'm Brian Pittard.
I'm Steve Morey.
You're going to hear a woof and an explosion, and we'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
Woof!